Hey guys, this is Nick Brown at J-Tech, and today we are going to be talking about an engine cooling system. Okay, so basically most of you guys, or all cars these days, have cooling systems on them that are liquid cooled engines. Okay, so basically it takes antifreeze / water mixture and it runs it through a water pump, through the engine, transferring heat into the coolant, and then by the water pump pumping it back into the radiator, and therefore it emitting heat into the air. Okay, that's just a small process of how it works. Going in depth of how everything works. Right here we have the radiator. Then right here on this big 3406E Caterpillar we have a water pump. Okay, this specific one happens to be gear driven. Okay, it's not belt driven. You got the engine fan, and then behind it you have the radiator. Okay, so up above here we have the header tank where the top coolant hose would go into the thermostat. Okay, you have coolant sitting in the header tank right there going into the thermostat. Thermostat being right here. Once the engine gets hot enough and the thermostat opens and lets coolant into the rest of the engine to where the water pump can pump the water throughout the engine and back into the radiator to radiate the heat away from the coolant, away from the engine. Okay, from the thermostat it goes into the water pump. Okay, now from that point on it has different features besides just cooling off the engine. It also has an oil cooler. On the other side it has a cooler for the compressor, running coolant through the compressor to cool off the compressor. On some applications where you have a variable geometry turbo, you have designated coolant lines going to the turbo actuator. Just several things happen. Also, these valves right here, some of these, this is on an older application for a 3406E, some of these are cab heaters, okay, for the heater core and the cab, as well as heater core for the sleeper. Okay, this is an older application with the valves, just on a side note. Okay, so what this does as far as the coolant system goes, when the water pump is circulating water and it slashes the antifreeze mixture throughout the engine, from the water pump goes into the engine. Now how this works is it's injecting a large volume of water / antifreeze mixture straight into the pump impeller. Behind here, if I were to take this off, there would be an impeller in there. Now from that point on, it goes up into the engine. There's a galley up that goes up into the engine. That's how it circulates. And then from that point on, wherever the bottom cooling hose is, which is down below right here, you can't really see it down in there because I don't have the light on my phone. Once it is circulated through the engine, it goes back through the radiator. Now, while it is circulating through the engine, what that does is you have coolant running across the cast iron block through the engine, okay? And that engine is getting hot. So, heat, being the energy that it is, gets transferred into the coolant. Okay? Then the coolant takes that heat and by the water pump pumping, transfers it into the radiator. Okay? And what the radiator does is you have these little fins in here. These little tubes are for the coolant to travel through inside the radiator. Okay? What that does, and also these little fins are also helping radiate heat. Okay, so basically you have the coolant running through the tube, you ride that super hot coolant around 200 degrees running through these tubes, and then what these little fins do is they absorb the heat and then they release it. Okay, that right there is a thorough explanation on how a radiator works. Okay, from that point on, the heat gets emitted into the air, therefore the coolant is now a lower temperature than the engine is, so it gets circulated through and then back through the water pump and repeats the whole process once again. Okay? So that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is a thorough explanation on how the coolant system works. And this goes for any engine. This goes for your little Honda at work. This goes for a big old engine like this, International, Peterbilt, more Peterbilts, any engine, honestly. If it's liquid cooled, with what I explained there, is basically how all liquid cooled system works. Same goes for an air compressor. You have coolant lines running into here, going through little galleys inside the air compressor, and then going back out, back up to the radiator, okay, emitting heat. Same goes for anything else on the engine. If it is liquid cooled, that's how it works. Basically, the coolant absorbs the heat and it gets transferred to the radiator where the radiator emits the heat. Simple as that. So with that, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is an explanation on how an engine cooling system works in depth. So with that, we'll see you guys later.